Astonishing Legends Network.
Okay, we are into October now, and we've got some exciting October news for Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf. For the next 4 weeks, every Friday in October, we're going to be releasing an episode. Okay, today we're kicking things off with our Light in the Dark tour wrap-up. So Susan's joining me, and you guys know that Susan's my wife, and she's also the executive producer of Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf. And look, she's the main force in pretty much the whole reason this tour took place and went off without a hitch. I literally could not have done it without her. So we're going to be talking about everything that happened, all the behind the scenes stuff, starting at the Mothman Festival and going throughout the rest of the tour. So this week is going to be part 1. And next week, Friday, October 17th, will be part 2. And then on Friday, October 24th, I can't wait. It's back to business. A traditional RHPB show, and the book is The Siren Call of Hungry Ghosts. And we're going to drop part 1 on Friday the 24th, and then the concluding chapter, part 2, on Halloween, Friday, October 31st. And that'll wrap up the season 3 of Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf. And then we're going to have bonus episodes to get you through November and December. And then we'll be back with all new episodes, the premiere of season 4 in January. So there you go. You got the rest of your year planned out. All right, let's dive in. It's me and Susan Lambert. Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is the official wrap-up of the Light in the Dark tour and the Mothman Festival, because so many of you were asking for what happened on the trip, and you want the inside story. So I'm here to tell it to you, and I'm here with my very special guest, the Light in the Duke. The Light in the Duke.
The Light in the Duke. I'm going to duke ya.
The Light in the Dark tour executive producer, and of course, my wife, Susan Lambert. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you, Richard. I'm so happy to be here.
So we're going to talk about, she's holding up, you guys, she's holding up the Mothman Festival mug with that design by Tommy Beaver. By the way, these are available. Okay. We have extras. That was not our goal, but we do have some extras, and we have t-shirts too. I know those mugs are so cool. Anyway, we're going to set up a way for you guys to get these. I don't know how yet, because that's a whole nother part of podcasting I have to learn, is how to set up a store where the merch is with me and then I get it to you. But Susan, we're going to figure that out.
Yeah. Or maybe we'll just give them away. You patrons.
No, we bought those. Here's what you guys don't understand. Well, you're going to understand. We spent so much money. When you do a thing like this, okay, so we go to the Mothman Festival, we go, and then beyond that, we had 3 other tour dates. And for a while there, it looked like we might have 5 other tour dates. So we bought a ton of merch. Obviously, when you think about it, that's what everybody does. But we sank money into mugs, t-shirts, chapsticks, stickers, pens. What else? Is that it? Oh, and pictures of me, of course.
And we printed scripts of the Mothman Prophecies movie that you signed at the festival.
That is true. Yeah, we did that. That was a good idea of yours. For whatever reason, it didn't occur to me that, because Susan's like, oh yeah, you should sell copies of the script. I mean, that's why you're there. And I'm like, people aren't going to want that. People are there to buy t-shirts and, plushies. No one's going to want to buy a script. Well, as is always the case, I then had to go, wait, in all the time Susan's ever suggested something to you, how often has she been wrong? And then I counted it up and it came out to 0. So I went out, printed up 30 copies. I'm like, we'll just do 30. We can't haul these things around. And here's what we did. We actually had a printer in Frankfort, Kentucky do it, because we knew we were going to be driving through and that would be one of our last stops before Point Pleasant. And we didn't want to carry all this stuff. In fact, a lot of the shirts and mugs that we ordered and had made, we didn't have them shipped to our house. We had them shipped to the Mothman Museum in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, because that was going to be our first real tour stop. And we figured there's going to be boxes of this stuff, and it's heavy. It's mugs, t-shirts. I mean, this is like bulky stuff. So we sent it all there. Jeff Walmsley kindly allowed that to happen. But anyway, yes.
It was so fun. I just want to point out how fun it was to order Richard Hatem and Mothman Richard Hatem t-shirts and mugs and basically have them delivered to the Mothman Museum, like putting in that address. It was funny.
Because did it feel like the people making the t-shirts would be like, whoa, what's going on?
Well, I didn't think about that. I just thought it was cool.
Okay. I'm always assuming that people are taking a direct interest in anything that it's like if I'm making an order, they're considering it. It's like when you go to the grocery store and you're buying your groceries and you think that the checker is sort of like estimating your moral worth as their
judging your life.
Judging your life as they're scanning
wow,
things.
A lot of candy.
I know, right? Yeah, it's like, or booze. And you forget that probably ended halfway through their second day 10 years ago. And now they couldn't care less. Anyway, so, but okay, and we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves.
I know,
yeah, I know.
We should back up.
We're going to back, I'm backing up.
Richard likes to get ahead of himself.
Okay, I don't know what that means. That sounds coded.
I meant it was not coded. You were like, let's go on a live tour practically before you even dropped your podcast.
Oh, well, yeah, I knew I wanted to do live performances, but if we're talking about the Light in the Dark tour, and we are, when I thought back, here's actually what happened. It all started with Jeff Walmsley, the creator of the Mothman Museum and the creator of the Mothman Festival. So in June, what happened was this. We knew we were going to try to get out to some other cities this year. And we were going to do it in the spring, and then life interrupted and we couldn't do it in the spring. So we're like, well, then we'll do it in the second half of the year. In June, early in June, Jeff Walmsley, out of the blue, sends me an email. This is not a guy I know. I have not communicated with him. Don't know who he is. I get an email. He says, I'm the guy running the Mothman Festival. Been doing it for 24 years. Do you want to come? Do you want to come and be a featured speaker? And everything sort of came together in that moment because, we've been thinking of going for years. I've been thinking of going for years. Yeah. And it was either going to be, there were times where there were, like with Scott and Forrest, there was a moment where it looked like we were going to go and then it didn't work out. Well, one of the problems is it's in September. And in September, we have kids, Scott's got kids. And it's like, school's just starting. We got back to school night. There's always like soccer is starting.
So much happening in the early days when you're back to school.
Yeah.
But we weren't back to school this year.
No, this was the first year we weren't back to school because Dashiell just graduated high school. Thank God. So finally, we're like, well, maybe it makes sense. Because also it's like, well, it's in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So you're going right there. It's not like, oh, there's a million other things we can do and friends and relatives we can visit. It's like you're going to this remote place and that's where you're going. So he invites me. I say, yeah, that sounds great. And then he writes back and says, okay, let me know what your fee is. And then I will put you up in a hotel and arrange travel. And I ran into Susan's office. I'm like, Susan, get this. He wants to know what my fee is.
That's always a nice question. And
right? I'm like,
often
what's my
unexpected. And so you think of the most outrageous thing you can think of, and then you double it. And then because you're Susan and Richard, you back off of that. But we should have kept it down.
Well, I backed way off because while I'm talking to Susan, literally within 5 minutes, we come up with a whole plan. because it's like, well, if you're going to go do it and we're going to go all the way out there, I think Susan said, well, then you should also do a live podcast for the show. And I'm like, I'm already doing a speaking engagement. And she says, yeah, but then later that evening, somewhere around Point Pleasant, just find a place and go, hey, here's this extra thing. I mean, you're going to have all your, your Mothman fans right there. It'll be somewhat easy pickings for people who are like, oh, I know who you are. That sounds interesting. Let's do it. So we're like, okay, great. And then the very next idea, of course, is, well, if I'm going to do it and if we're going all that way, where else is there somewhere near there we can also somehow do a live show? And immediately I thought of Ohio. That was my first thought.
Because we had such a good time in Cleveland. And you've got people there.
Yeah, exactly. And when you've got relatives in the Canton, Akron
area. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Canton and Akron are together, right? Or is it Dayton?
It's Canton is further south. Akron is closer to Cleveland.
Oh, okay. So I thought, well, maybe we could do Cleveland, and then of course now we're looking on our Google Maps and how long does it take to drive from Point Pleasant, West Virginia to Cleveland? And it's like, oh, it's just a few hours. Okay, great. And then I'm like, wait a second, isn't Pittsburgh right there? We can do Pittsburgh. Well, what about the others? What about Washington, D.C.? What about Baltimore? What about Philadelphia? What about New York City? Owen's in New York City, our oldest kid. We can go visit Owen. So we got all these big ideas. So we're like, so suddenly within minutes, we're like, okay, we'll book a week, we'll figure out how long it's going to take. And I'm just like, we're going to do a show a night. We're going to drive in, do a show, drive in, do a show, drive in, do a show. Boom, 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 boom. That was my plan. It didn't quite work out the way, but that was the idea, right?
That was the idea, although I thought that was a little bit insane because, that's what musicians do, but we're not musicians. and I felt that might be a lot, particularly since we had never been to any of these places except for New York, really, to do a show or do a thing, and we didn't know where we were doing them. So I was like, we need a day in between very quickly, because I was like, we need to figure out where we are, what we're doing, what we need for that location.
Right.
And so I kind of started thinking about how to produce it. Listeners were really helpful, and we got a crazy email from pretty early on.
Oh yeah.
From a listener, a fan, saying, hey, we have a house in Long Island and we do a haunted house, and we could open it up early and you could come, people could walk through the haunted house and then do the show at our house. And that was the email you got. And then we got in touch with them, and
yeah. And
what happened next?
Yeah, I mean, well, that was the first location. I think it was the first location we had nailed down. And I'm like, this is going great. And what I've found is, and I'm glad you brought it up, is that turning to you guys, the listeners, has been the best thing we could have done, because especially now for upcoming dates,
we've got some other people that reached out to us about whatever's next. Yeah,
totally. We've got people, we've got Denver, we've got, people reaching out from a bunch of cities. So you guys have been super helpful. What?
From Canada.
Oh, that's right. We've got 2 listeners who are in Toronto who are like, we're going to get you up here. Actually 3 working in separate camps. I might, depending on, well, that's the thing. I don't know. I figure if I go to Toronto, I'm probably going to have a handful of people, which is kind of what I've ended up having everywhere I've gone. It would be amazing to think it would require 2 nights for me to service all of my Toronto fans. I'm not sure we're there yet, but we'll see. Anyway, we got very excited. We got very excited
because now we had kind of linchpins, right? The Long Island and Mothman. And
right.
And so then it's like, okay, well, how do we travel? And we thought for a second that somehow it might be cheaper to just get in our car and drive, and we could carry the merch and do the thing. And then
like starting from Los Angeles is what you're
and
saying.
that was like, okay, that's insane.
We spent a whole afternoon going, wait a second, this will be cheaper than flying. It was not cheaper than flying.
No. But we decided, so we flew into Louisville, Kentucky. I was very excited that we found this flight. So for a while I was looking at Cleveland and Pittsburgh and various other places that
Columbus.
are, again, 3 or 4 hours from, sometimes 5 from Point Pleasant. But then I found the Louisville flight direct from LA, and that was great. And we flew in there, rented a car, and then got started on the road. You were like, let's stop for dinner. And I was like, no, we got to get on the road. We're going to have dinner in Frankfurt. And because I found a cool hotel that was very funky and neat. The Delegate in Frankfurt, Kentucky. And it turned out to be a great hotel.
No, it was very nice. It was good. It's a weird town. It has a weird vibe. I liked it too. Well, here's what I liked. At first, it felt kind of empty, like it was abandoned. But then we went out to dinner at this restaurant, excuse me, that was right on the
Bourbon
river.
on Main.
Well, what's it called?
It was called Bourbon on Main. Everything in Kentucky is about bourbon, right?
True.
There's a bourbon trail. There's bourbon tours. Every other restaurant is called Bourbon this or Bourbon Barrel or Bourbon that. And this was called Bourbon on Main. It was right on the Kentucky River, which I was very excited about, to sit by a river at night or anytime, really. And that turned out to be great. That was sort of like, okay, let's go walk around, and there's a couple places. And we walked in there, and I was like, this is the place. I was excited.
When you go to Hawaii, when you get off the plane, they give you a lei. They put the lei around your neck of flowers. When you get off the plane in Kentucky, they hand you a shot glass of bourbon. And if you don't want yours, you just pass it back to the next, and then you'll hit someone who was like, no, I got him. I'll do it. I'll do them all. It was not me. I can't do straight liquor.
You wish that happened. I do not. I'm not really a bourbon, so.
I like it. I just can't have it alone. I respect it, but I have to, I got to put the simple syrup in, and then a cherry, and then some Grand Marnier and some Luxardo. I got to really do it.
See, I don't think that's bourbon.
Well,
I think that's just a mixed drink.
It's a cocktail. It's a bourbon cocktail.
Whatever. All right. But here's the best thing about Bourbon on Main and why I recommend it. A, on the river. 2, yes, plenty of bourbon. 3, they got a patio and an indoor. So if it's too hot for the patio, you can still be indoors. They were super nice. They have all these awards on the wall for all the years they've won best restaurant and best drink and best margarita. And when you order their house fries, it comes and it's the size of a pumpkin. There's so many. It was so many fries, and I can eat a lot of fries, and it was I was like, this is embarrassing.
The whole trip just turned into the French fry tour of
it was
the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast.
But I loved walking around the downtown at night, and we saw cool shops, and then we turned a corner, and suddenly there were a ton of people. Like,
it was so crazy.
That was so weird.
It was a Thursday night in Frankfurt, and there were more people on the street at 10 o'clock than there are in Pasadena. People were out. There were bars and restaurants, and they were mostly open because it was, what was it, September 18th?
September 18th.
And I got to tell you, in everywhere we went, it was not super cold, which was a little disappointing. It wasn't even, some places were still pretty hot. Mm-hmm. Nothing was so hot it was unpleasant, but it was, it's still kind of summer. I was kind of hoping it was going to feel like fall,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was too. I was also hoping that the Hoggies ice cream was going to be open, but it was not.
That's right. I know it's like, why would the ice cream place close early? But they missed out on some business, let me tell you. So we walked around. That was really fun. We'll post some of those pictures. We got some good pictures just walking around downtown Frankfurt. And then the next morning was time to head to Point Pleasant, right?
Except that first we had to go eat at the diner, the Main Street Diner.
Oh,
for
that's
breakfast,
right. Oh, the Main
Street
Diner.
Also I recommend. I also recommend. both those places we ate were great. I would say, again, the Bourbon on Main, I didn't really have, I remember the French fries. I think I had a salad, but I don't remember it. So I'm going to recommend the drinks, the French fries, and the fact that it's on the river, and that they were super nice to us, super, super nice. But Main Street, that was some good diner food, man. That was really good and super fun.
Super fun, kind of a 50s vibe. That was a good place. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun. Well, that was it. If you took the French fry tour, I took the pancake tour.
You did.
I think I had pancakes every day.
They let you order the kids' pancakes so you could have 3 of them.
That's right. They did. Oh my
Main
God.
Street Diner. She's like, oh, you can order whatever you want.
You guys, if you own a restaurant, this is a very good idea. Allow grown-ups to order the kid portion. Some places don't. But because sometimes you just want to, I just wanted to know what the pancakes were like. And so that was so great. Thank you for reminding me. See, that's why you're here. Thank God
good.
You're here.
I knew there was some reason that I was here. Okay. Well, so I was saying that of the places we went, one of the things we were talking about that we would talk about is the things that we did do, memories we had, things that we did. But I also wanted to think about the things we didn't do that I really wanted to try. So there ended up being a lot in Frankfurt, which was
the big list of disappointments. Okay, great.
No, the big list of if I'm ever back in Frankfurt, next time we go to Mothman Festival, we may have to hit them.
Okay.
Daniel Boone's grave is in Frankfurt, Kentucky.
Oh my God.
And again, between Louisville and the end of Kentucky, it's every other exit is the Bourbon Trail, this and the Bourbon Trail, that. But there's a couple distilleries around Frankfurt, one of which is the Buffalo Trace Distillery. Mm. And one of our great friends, Nick, of Bonita and Nick, love Buffalo Trace. And so we were like, well, let's go drive there. We'll get a picture in front of it. We don't really have time because we got to get on the road to Point Pleasant. And so we drove in, and it was like really quiet and really like beautiful drive in. And then we got to the gate, and we suddenly realized there was this line going all the way down the hill and this huge distillery down at the bottom of the hill. And then we turn around, and when we pulled in, there was nobody. And we turn around, and there is a line of 50 cars. Suddenly.
It was like Disneyland.
It was crazy. We're like, we got to get out of here.
We barely escaped with our lives. We would not, if we had stayed, it would have been hours. And it was a Thursday. It was a random Thursday.
No, that would have been Friday.
Oh, you're right. Okay, that would have been well, okay, maybe that was it. My God, the people there. So we just drove out to the street and took a picture by the sign, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was crazy. So I would like to actually do a tour at some point the next time we go.
So we get on the road, now we're driving, and at a certain point I said, Susan, I want a cheeseburger, but not from like a normal place. Can you find that for us on your phone while I'm driving?
And by the way, we had just passed like 2 reasonable sized towns, and it pretty much hit the nowhere stretch between Kentucky and Point Pleasant. Basically, there was nothing.
But there was.
So I'm desperately on Yelp and Google and Google Maps and trying to do my magic. And sometimes there's internet, and sometimes it's not so good. And then I'm like, well, maybe we got to get off. And I found a little town called
Morehead.
Morehead. Thank you. I thought I'd written that down. So I found Fat Patty's Hamburgers.
Yeah,
in
you did.
Morehead, Kentucky.
Yep.
And it was pretty damn good.
It was great. It was great. They had a big drink menu. They had cheeseburgers. It was everything. Let me put it this way. It was this charming little town, and it had everything I wanted. And the best thing is, as we were pulling up to Fat Patty's across the street, I noticed the Fuzzy Duck Bookstore and Coffee House. And so I'm like, oh, we got to check that out.
We marked that. We put a pin in that till we ate some food. And but it was also, I also love that when we pulled up to the place, I got a little bit nervous because there was this like enter here and die on the door. And I was like, that's weird, until we pulled around to the front and realized it was all decked out for Halloween. So that was nice.
Oh, right.
And it was like September, 19th.
Yeah.
But it was all decked out for Halloween, which was fun. The whole restaurant. And we got set in the bar, and the bartender took our order and gave us his history, and it was great. It was super fun.
Well, and it was good because you started talking about your podcast, and I'm like, great. He seems super interested in 80s TV ladies and Golden Girls. And he's telling us stories about how when he was a kid, Golden Girls was his favorite show. And he was a weird kid, and his parents sent him to a therapist, and the therapist said, draw a picture of anything you want. And he drew the set of the Golden Girls living room.
I mean, and listen, and then he says, the therapist said, you're not taking this seriously, get out. And I'm like, honey, okay, so you want to be a set designer? You want to be a...
Right.
Like, I got so many things to say to that kid that's very exciting.
If you're in LA and a kid comes in and you tell him to draw something and he draws the set of the Golden Girls, if you're a therapist, in your mind, you're hearing cha-ching. I got a kid who clearly, well, actually in LA, that kid is probably, pretty normal, but where our guy grew up, God only knows. So he was really fun, but then finally, and Susan, you always do this and it embarrasses me, but because at a certain point you're like, well, he has a podcast too. And he also wrote a movie, and I'm like, oh God, don't, please. Cause they're just going to stare with a blank face when you say the Mothman prophecies, but then you did. And he got really excited because he did know.
I mean, by this point we were 2 hours out from Point Pleasant, maybe 2.5. So I'm like, you know what? There isn't a lot in these two states going on right now, but I would say that they're close enough to Point Pleasant to know about the Mothman Festival that has been going on for 23 years.
And it's going to happen that weekend, the next day.
It's going to happen that weekend. Yeah. So I figured, but also the you don't have to know the movie to know the podcast. And it also helps if they don't recognize the Mothman prophecies, then you can always follow up with, and TV shows like Grimm and Supernatural and Witches of East End and Titans.
So meanwhile,
they usually know one of those.
Just so you're clear, we're in Morehead, Kentucky, handing this guy pens and bookmarks and all the information so he can listen to our podcasts, because Susan and I will leave no stone unturned. If there's a listener who might want to start listening, we're gonna try to hook them. So that was really fun. And then we walked across the street to the Fuzzy Duck.
And it's really the full name of this place. It was so interesting and kind of hard to figure out from the outside. It looked super cool. The full name of this place is Coffee Tree Books and the Fuzzy Duck.
Oh, right. And
because
I was like,
the Fuzzy Duck is the coffee shop.
What?
And the bookstore is in the back of the coffee shop.
But the bookstore is called Coffee Tree.
Yes.
Okay, because I got confused. I saw Coffee Tree Books, and in my mind, that's like, oh, they've got coffee and they've got books, and I don't know how the tree fits in, but they've got, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And Fuzzy Duck, and I'm like, well, what is that? And I'm asking Susan, is Fuzzy Duck, is that like a term for like antiques or something? Like, oh, we're gonna go, oh, that's a fuzzy duck, Is that like
you want it to be some Kentucky phrase?
Yeah, it's like, well, this place is just filled with fuzzy ducks. Let's get out of here because it's like, oh, that's all antique or secondhand or something. Because I'm like, well, a fuzzy duck has to mean something. Well, as it turns out, it didn't mean anything. It was the old name of the coffee place that I don't know his in-laws owned.
Right, his in-laws owned the Fuzzy Duck.
Right,
and in a different location in Frankfurt, and then. He and his wife was from Morehead, and he and his wife moved back, and they started a bookstore behind the Fuzzy Duck, and then they outgrew the place or the lease or something, whatever. But somehow they ended up on sort of the main street in what was formerly. We walk into this bookstore through the coffee shop, and I'm like, wait, this was a movie theater because there's a screen. It's huge. Because it's the size of a movie theater, And there's a screen at the end of it, and they've got some movie seats down at the bottom. There's like a whole other level that you go down to. And so they clearly can have events. And I'm suddenly like, well, we should have been doing a light in the dark tour. Stop here.
All my fans in Morehead, Kentucky, gather tonight.
So it was so fun. And we got to talk to the owners. Well, one of the owners, Grant Alden, and his wife, Susan, actually run the place. So,
yeah. And super nice and super cool. And they had, I mean, it was a great bookstore.
It was a like really great bookstore. They
had and tons of titles. Anyway, and we just never in a million years would we have ever been in Morehead if I hadn't wanted a cheeseburger.
So it's your fault.
Yes. So,
all right. But then he recommended the Hillbilly hot dogs, and we didn't get to stop there.
Oh, right. Because on the way between Morehead and Point Pleasant is a place called Hillbilly Hot Dogs, but it wasn't going to work. And at a certain point, we knew we just had to get to Point Pleasant because we really wanted to. I mean, again, here's the weird part. There's the producer part of your brain, which is like, we need to get there. We need to meet this guy. We need to make sure he's got our merch. We need to see the table. We need to start wrapping our heads around how we're going to be selling stuff. Plus, I've got 2 shows the next day. At 3 p.m, I'm doing a, hey, from book to screen, how I wrote the Mothman prophecies. And then 4 hours later, I'm doing the podcast show. And in between and wrapped around and all around it is standing in a crowd of 32,000 people trying to sell merch and talking to people as they come up to you. It's like, again, it's like being at Disneyland. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, we got to figure this out, you know, and we're already in for so much money, like thousands. We've got to figure this out. But as we're driving closer and closer, this other part of my brain is kicking in, which is the part that should have been the front part, which is, Rich, you're going to Point Pleasant, West Virginia for the first time ever. 28 years ago, you found a book and got some crazy notion that you were going to write this movie. And 28 years later, you're going now for the first time to that town, to the middle of a place you've never been, and to a festival that I'm not going to say it exists because I wrote the movie, but let's do the math.
Well, they said that.
Well, ultimately they did, but I was already thinking it because that's me. The movie comes out in 2002. January, and then the first festival is September 2002. So right there, it doesn't take Columbo.
There's a combination of events that made this thing happen and made it take off, and you are a key part of that conversation. You are a igniting spark. The book being one of them, but the movie coming at the right time being another one, and bringing attention, and then Jeff and certain people in town going, hey, this is interesting. This is our town's history, and maybe we can turn a tragedy into something really incredible, which is what they've done.
Oh, they really have. Well, and also it's part of what has happened over the past 20 years and sort of more and more every year as the years have progressed till this moment. The idea of local monsters, like local cryptids, small towns that are associated with sometimes just one sighting of one weird creature. The towns have started embracing it. And Point Pleasant was one of the first to say, look, this is where this thing took place. And so we're going to embrace that. And the first few years they did it, they got a few hundred people. Then they got a few thousand people, and it's grown since then. But once we were there, we later found out, oh yeah, the previous weekend, there's the Flatwoods Monster Festival.
Flatwoods, West Virginia.
Right. And then there were other ones associated with other people were telling us, oh yeah, there are festivals in small towns, which is fantastic. It's fun. So Mothman, of course, being one of the biggest and one that's been around the longest. But as we got closer and closer, I get quieter and quieter. And Susan's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. Shut up. Why?" And even I don't know why. And I'm getting nervous, and then I'm getting like scared, and then I'm getting angry. So,
That
all
was
my
fun.
things.
It was really fun. I was like, and you had like insisted upon driving that second half. And at a certain point, as we're driving over, not the bridge, but another bridge into Point Pleasant, I was like, he maybe shouldn't be driving because I think he's freaking out so much.
I kind of was, because I'm like, I am now like, things are coming full circle. The great arc of time is looping around, and it's like a circle, a line that I started drawing 28 years ago is about to meet itself like an Ouroboros. We drive over the bridge, and it's amazing because you go over, and just as you crest and you start going down the other side of the bridge, there's the town like laid out in front of you, like a shot from a movie. And one of the buildings is the Mothman Museum, and it says Mothman Museum. And then as we get closer, everywhere you look, because it's the weekend of the festival, there's, on those little
Signs
marquees
and,
outside
yeah,
the muffler
bank.
shop, it's like,
Yeah.
get a Mothman muffler this weekend. It's like everything is Mothman. It's a small town, guys. It is 6 blocks long. I mean, that's,
The downtown.
downtown.
Yeah.
There, it goes a few miles and there's houses and roads and stuff, but downtown, it's 6 blocks. And they're setting up. It's like the biggest farmers market you've ever seen. People putting up the canopies and putting up the displays with all of the t-shirts and stuff.
Inflating things.
And things were being inflated
and we didn't know
around
where
us.
to park. We really didn't know where to go. We kind of knew where the museum was. So, and then we tried to turn, and they're blocking off streets. So then we're like, oh my God, what do we do? And then, did somebody recognize you from the car?
No.
Oh.
And I was really glad. I mean, obviously there was it would be very weird. I don't know how a person would recognize me unless they had gone online and were really trying really hard. But we parked, and the first thing I wanted to do was, and I kind of felt like before we tell anyone anything and anyone even knows who we are, I want to go look at the river, and I want to look at the bridges, and I want to see what this place is that I semi-wrote about, 28 years ago. And so we sort of go, there's a big wall, and there's an opening in the wall, and we walk through the opening in the wall, and now we're on the banks of the river.
The Ohio River. It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And to the right, there is a train bridge. What became clear was a bridge just for railroads.
It wasn't clear to me at first. I was very confused. I thought that was the bridge.
I thought so. Well, I knew obviously it wasn't the bridge, but I'm like, well, they rebuilt the bridge, but I know they rebuilt it in a different spot. So we're looking at that bridge, then we look to our left, and then way down like a mile is this other bigger bridge. And I'm like, that's got to be the new bridge, but I don't know where the old bridge was. So we're looking, it was pretty, I don't know about you, it was kind of emotional. It was pretty moving.
Yeah, it was really, we had just rewatched the movie. I insisted before we left to rewatch the movie. And, it's such a beautiful, it's spooky and scary and all that stuff, but it's a beautiful movie. It's beautifully crafted. It's beautifully done. And it has a lot of respect for, I think, the town and the story, knowing what could have happened to that movie. And so it was very weird because you're also like, 46 people died here. And that's really what started this,
Right. And I realized, as I have realized in the past, but it was pretty immediate now. I'm like, because people often ask, why did you get it wrong? You said that 36 people died when really it was way up in the 40s. It was 46 people, I think, 47.
Yeah.
why would, that's such an obvious fact, and why would you get that wrong? And in various interviews and stuff, I've told people I intentionally got it wrong. I would have used any number except for the actual real number. And the reason for that is because I was not doing a docudrama of the actual events as they necessarily happened in John Keel's book or in newspaper reports. I wanted to use the general events, update them, and I updated it, put it in modern day 1990s, at that point late 1990s, early 2000s, to make it really, really clear. I'm not trying to tell the actual story either historically or what John Keel wrote about in his book necessarily, but I'm using that as a jumping off point to tell a story about what it's like to experience a paranormal event and to really struggle with that and to ask unanswerable questions. So I purposely got a lot of stuff wrong, okay? So that people wouldn't go, well, you got everything else right, so why did you do that wrong? Because people died. And there are still people alive who lost relatives and friends on the bridge. And I knew the closer I got to that being accurate.
The reality, yeah.
The reality of it, the more I risked hurting people. So the bridge collapsed, I believe on December 15th. And in the movie, it happens on Christmas Eve. So it was like enough things are different that it's like, okay, this is not a literal retelling. Anyway, but now I'm in the town and I don't really know how people are necessarily going to feel. I assume they're going to be okay, but I don't know, but I feel weird. So that's kind of where I was at that moment. So we go straight to the museum, and the museum is crowded. There's like people around there, both in the museum, but people are also setting up on the street.
Yeah, it was very busy. It was very
busy. Yeah. And I'm looking, well, it's like, I need to meet Jeff Walmsley. Is Jeff Walmsley here? I've got to find him. He's got our merch. And someone said, he's right behind you. And we turn around and there's this guy in a golf cart looking like he does not have a care in the world. This is a guy, it's the night before the biggest thing. This is the Rose Parade, of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. And this guy looks like he's just, waiting to have another beer or something. Calm as can be. I walk over, I'm like, Mr. Walmsley, it's me. He goes, I know who you are. You're Richard Hatem. And then we shake hands and we hug. He's like, and I introduce Susan. Here we go. Or he's like, get in the golf cart. I'll show you around. So we get in the golf cart, and then we get the VIP Mothman golf cart tour of downtown Point Pleasant. We just start tooling down from one end to the other, and he's pointing out, okay, here's these people, here's how long they've been coming here, here's their connection to things, here's what they're selling. This person's an artist, this person's a podcaster, this person's a whatever. So he of course knows everyone. Some of these people have been coming there for years, right?
Yeah. But it's like he's like waving, where it's sort of like It's a Wonderful Life, where he's running down and Merry Christmas, building a loan.
Yeah, except without any of the panic. Just, he literally looks, this guy is in some sort of Zen state. I never saw him in anything other than a completely relaxed, completely in control. I don't know how he does it. Anyway, he was pointing things out. He drove us around. And people were coming up and he'd be like, this is the guy who wrote the movie. And people were like, oh my God, and shaking my hand. So then, of course, I felt really good because I was getting a lot of attention. At that point, you knew, oh, this is going to be a week of Rich getting a lot of attention and me setting up mugs on a table.
Yeah. Mostly shirts, because the mugs were easy to set up. The shirts were harder.
Those shirts were a pain in the ass.
Mugs come in one size.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. People do you have triple extra large mug? No, we got one size. We finally come back around. Jeff tells us where our stuff is. He brings it. We get a glimpse of the museum, sort of the front gift shop part, and it really is weird to see so much Mothman stuff. There is so much. And we met his wife. We met one of his kids and took pictures, and people could not have been nicer. it felt so good for just to be there, and everyone was happy and excited. And I don't think anyone was freaking out except for me. And after a while, it was sort of like, well, if people seem to be in a pretty good mood, I guess I can chill out a little bit. Here's my thing. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking tomorrow is going to be a marathon. It's going to be early morning. It's not, it's going to be warm. We're going to be there. We're going to be meeting people. I'm going to be talking to people all day and then going and doing a speaking engagement, then coming back out, spending a few more hours talking to people, and then doing a podcast. In the back of my mind, I really did think I'm going to lose my voice. My voice is going to give out halfway through the day and I'm going to be screwed. I'm also going to get exhausted because just the energy of being around people is going to drain me. It's going to feel like being in an amusement park. You go to Disneyland and by 3:00, I don't know, I'm 58. I'm like, I need to sit down for 6 hours.
I know, but this was Disneyland. This was Richard Hatem land.
Yes. You're right. No, but you're right. What I didn't realize was when all the attention is focused on me and people are telling me how great I am, apparently I have unending energy.
It is true. I was the one who couldn't make it.
I'm not saying you had a freak out, but you had a bit of a freak out.
Oh, I definitely had a freak out. Here's the thing. I can be an extrovert, but I think I can be introvert, extrovert. I think I'm that one because I like working with people. I like being around a lot of people. I, like film sets and theater and all that stuff. But I also am an introvert and I like my downtime. I like to write alone. I like to be in my office alone.
Sure.
And I am fed by people, but too many people is too much for me. And yeah. And
too many people is barely enough for me.
I know. So it was super. We had a great time. I had a great time until I hit a wall. And then I was like, you got to get me to nothing. We're going to get in the car. We're going to speak to no one. You're going to give me some food. I'm going to be quiet for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we went back and I was fine.
I saw you and I'm like, this is a woman who needs some McDonald's French fries.
We did continue the French fry tour and that did help a lot right then.
So on my end, I'm talking to people all day and then it's like, oh my God, it's 2:45. You got to get to the other end of Main Street, 6 blocks up to the Trinity Church community room where all the speakers are every hour on the hour. So I go up there and there's like 200 people. Well, I don't know, maybe 150 or something. It's a big room. I mean, all those chairs were filled. Okay. So it was a really good crowd. And I have not planned anything because I'm like, well, all I'm going to be talking about is the thing I've talked about on a million podcasts, which is finding the book, writing the script, talking to John Keel, meeting Richard Gere, all that stuff. So I go in there. And of course, with my many, many years of comedy traffic school training, it was so fun. I just got up there. It was like, I was like Richard Pryor. It was like a 1-hour comedy routine. I was so happy. That was exactly what I needed at that point in the day. So that went really well. And people seemed to enjoy it. And of course, I was like, hey, if you like this, come on back to this very location tonight at 7:00, have $30 in your hand and you can see some more. So yeah.
And it's so funny because, I'm not a full extrovert at all. But I love watching you perform. And we've been married a long time. I've seen you perform a lot of times.
Again,
so
is
I
this
was
like
both.
Is this a sex thing you're doing?
No, stop it. Don't ruin. Ultimately, not only did I not get to see you do that, which I love to see you do, I had to sit in the hot sun by myself at the merch table with a number of people who by this time had heard that you were there and were signing things and would have that recognition of seeing the sign that said, this is the guy that wrote the Mothman prophecies. And then they'd look up expectantly and be like, and I'd be like, he's not here right now, but he's coming back. He's speaking right down there, but he's coming back, I promise. And then they'd get all soury. And no, they were very nice, but they were also disappointed. So I got to basically just disappoint people pretty much for the next hour while you were enthralling and enchanting people and getting all their love.
But I understand. Yeah, that is true. That it was no fun.
I'm not asking you to understand
where you were.
I want the listeners to understand how hard I worked.
Okay, because guys, I hope you do understand, because I really don't. Because I was over like being the star, so I was good. Anyway, I came back. But it was awesome.
I loved all of I'd really never done anything like that. I've done like festival stuff and like all sorts of different things. I've never sat at a merch table all day long and sold merch.
Neither one of us have. We are 58 and we're like selling clay pipes out in front of a Fish concert. I mean, it's like, really? Is this what it's come to? This is when you're 28.
But everyone was so nice. All of our booth mates and table mates and very helpful and gave us clips and things and stuff that we needed. And we're like, she's like, oh, here, have this. So I think we really lucked out with who we were next to and our location. We were right by the Mothman statue. So that was fun because basically between Saturday and Sunday, 3 people got engaged. I mean, 3 couples got engaged in front of the Mothman statue, in front of the Mothman statue. And it was so fun because you'd be sitting there and there's a line going one way for Mothman and a line going behind Mothman so they can get the picture touching his butt. And then suddenly the crowd would erupt in cheers and you'd look over and somebody was on their knees and somebody was saying yes. It was wonderful.
It was joyful. And people were in costume. And it was hot. And people were like in full, all kinds of costumes, but most of them were black and made out of felt. And fur. It looked miserable, but they seemed happy. So yeah. So then that night we did the sort of the first of this wing of the Light in the Dark tour at the Trinity Church. So things were starting to clear out a little bit. They emptied the room. Susan sat up with her computer out front, started checking people in. We had like 40 people, I think.
Yeah, it was a good crowd. And some people walked up, at the last minute and came in. It was really cool. We were up against the thing I wanted to go on and the thing we got free tickets for, which is basically the tour of all the points of the movie.
Right, the TNT area, the haunted hayride, basically.
The haunted hayride, right. And we did not get to do that. So, but it was good that we did the Light in the Dark tour. But anybody that, came to ours had to give up on the haunted hayride.
That's right, pretty much. And, it was really nice because it was a lot of fans of the show. And then it was a handful of people who didn't know the show, but had met us during the day and were like, well, let's come by. Or they'd seen the talk I'd done earlier. And we're like, let's just check it out. So it was a really good way to start. And that one went really well. I was pretty happy with how that performance went.
It was really good. And there was a team of people there. The team that had set up the whole day of speakers, set up the microphone, everything. I didn't have to do anything. So that's always nice. I just had to check people in. And then people we had met all day were like, do you need help? And they helped. And I was like, can you go do that? And so that was great about the whole tour practically, was people just sort of stepped up and started helping. And which is always nice when there's basically 2 of you and one is the one performing and the other is doing everything else. But it is.
I love you.
I love you too. It was also, I also love production. So it was fun. I will say that room was too big. And there was a lot of reverb. It was too live of a room for me to truly enjoy.
Yeah.
I would have done a lot more with the sound if I could have, but they did a beautiful job with the room that they had. But it was a giant community room.
It was like the PTA meeting in the basketball gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but fun, but like, oh, we're sort of sticking a, round peg in a square hole. But
Yeah.
you know
But
what? I
everybody
like to do that.
loved it. And hey, is this
That is
this?
that was a sex
Okay.
joke. Yeah. Sorry.
This is a family show. Oh no, that's mine. Okay.
Right.
Uh,
This is for this is for singles, divorcees, and the sexually deviant.
But I did enjoy selling merch. It was actually really fun to talk to people. One of my favorite things was people would be walking by and I think our Mothman shirt, which was dated and, specific to both the Mothman Festival of this year, but
Yeah.
also Richard Hatem. And it went over well. I think people really liked the graphics. So thank you, Tommy Beaver. But it was funny because there would be people that then would read the little sign we had that said Richard Hatem, writer of the Mothman prophecies, and then they'd perk up.
Yeah.
And they go, really?
Well, there were. I mean, this is not a Hollywood crowd. These are people who have no connection to filmmaking or anything, and so. For some people, it took them a minute to go, wait, did you write the book, The Mothman Prophecies? Or wait, what? And I'm like, no. That was John Keel. He wrote the book. Then I read the book and got legal rights to write a screenplay. And I wrote the screenplay for the movie, The Mothman Prophecies. And they were like, oh, okay. And they're sort of putting together, all right. Because look, I meet people every day who don't know that anything is written. They're like, I thought the actors made it up. I don't know. So you could see that, but once they got it, and then they're like, oh my God, then they'd pick up the script and sort of flip through it. And then like, oh no, this is great. Would you sign it? I signed them and we sold them. And that was really fun. We could have sold more of those. We sold out, I think, on the first day.
We did. We sold out on the first day.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was great is that people wanted you to sign all sorts of things. Like there were people that wanted you to sign the mug. And I was like, no, it's not going to stay. And this woman was like, oh, I'm going to shellac it. Like I've got a thing, spray. I'm going to spray it and it's going to stay forever. I'm like, okay.
Oh my God. You reminded me. Remember the woman we met? Oh, this is the best, you guys. This woman comes up and she's got her son with her. Looks like he's about 11. Cute kid. I mean, just the Norman Rockwell face with the freckles and the red hair and the big ears. He's like little Ron Howard from Andy Griffith's show, but he's 11 and he's just standing there. And she's like, I need you to meet my son. And I'm not going to tell you his name. I'm just going to show you. And she hands me the kid's social security card. And his name is Indrid Cole. Not cold with a D, but C-O-L-E. Indrid Cole, and then their last name. And I was like,
no, I think their
what?
last name is Cole.
Is it?
Yeah. Their last name is Cole.
I thought there was a third name. Okay. In any event, this woman was such a fan, she named her baby Indrid. And I'm looking at him like, well, what do your friends call? Are you like Indy for short? Because that's kind of cool. He's like, no, it's Indrid.
He's
like
so,
a little
he
Rod
was
Serling.
so thrilled. He was really proud of the name.
He really was. And he's like, nope, people call me Indrid. And I could not have been happier. And of course, I'm kicking myself for not naming Dashiell Indrid.
I'm not.
That might have been the coolest thing that happened the entire weekend. But the entire
that was
trip.
pretty great. I'm just kicking myself that we took a picture of you with him, but we didn't take the picture. We took it on their phone, so we don't have a picture of the two of you. That would have been fun.
If you're out there, Indrid Cole, send us that picture. You can blur out your social security card. We don't need that. I just want to prove that this happened.
I would say, please, she does cover the number when she shows it. So I'm going to,
true.
I think she should just, have she doesn't have to prove it. I would have believed her.
And listen, if anyone within the sound of our voices has a child named Mothman, if you named your child Mothman, I would like to know about it. So let us know.
Maybe as a middle name.
So we've come to the end of a 12-hour day, I think. The show has ended, and I, of course, am still like vibrating at an 11. So I'm like, let's go out to dinner. And the table right next to us, we're sitting next to the author, Brenna Butler, and we've been chatting with her all day. And she's like, oh, you should go to the Colony in Gallipolis. It's really good. So we cross the bridge once again, and it's getting late now. But, weirdly, Gallipolis stays open late, on a Saturday night. So we go to a restaurant called the Colony, which weirdly is now the second place we've been to on this trip in a matter of 2 days that used to be a movie theater and is now something else. And the thing it is now is a restaurant that does show movies sometimes. They have like a big movie night, or they show a football game or something on the big screen. This night they weren't showing anything, I don't think. Thank God.
No, yeah.
But man, we went there, a couple of bourbon blueberry smashes for me. Oh my God. Oh, nothing is better than drinking and eating at the end of a long, successful day.
Yes. And then we got to go back to our Mothman Prophecies hotel and count our cash.
I suggested we take our clothes off and roll in it, but that idea got no traction.
It did not.
So we did. Suddenly, yeah, we're these people counting cash for the T-shirts that we sold, and we did better. I think we did better than I expected. I don't know what I expected, but I think we did fine.
Yes. The next day, one of our other booth mates was like, we hit 85% of our goal yesterday. And I was like, we're supposed to have goals?
Right. Our goal was to sell everything and walk away with hauling no merch.
That's not true. We wanted to haul a little bit of merch for the next shows.
True. And we had both sets of merch. We had the Mothman Festival merch and the Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf merch. And people were sort of buying both, but mostly Mothman stuff. And we wanted to take both sets to the other stops so people could get stuff. So anyway, next morning we did another 2 or 3 hours.
2 or 3 hours, but that was good. I wasn't sure that many people would come, but a lot more people came the second day too. Some that were coming both days, and they had just spent the first day perusing and touring and all that stuff. And the second day they were ready to purchase. And both days, lines down the block to get into the Mothman Museum, and then they also have a black light Mothman mini golf upstairs of the Mothman Museum, and we had seen none of them. And I was so afraid that we would leave the Mothman Festival having not seen the Mothman Museum or the black light thing that I was like, Rich, we've got to go in there.
Well, it suddenly felt like we had no time, and in every single day since we've been there, I've thought of things that it's like, God, I wish we had more. We could have done this and we could have done that, and we could have just slowed down a little bit and really, really taken things in. I think a weekend that isn't the festival would also be a good time to go back and just sort of like see Point Pleasant on a normal day.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to go run down, find Jeff and say, Jeff, before the museum opens, because you've got a line of 100 people, is there a way I can sneak in and just very quickly go through the museum? Just sort of like take it all in and then get back to the table. And he's like, yeah, sure. Just go to the back door and walk up the stairs and tell the person upstairs what you're doing. And I'm like, okay. And it's like a big building.
It's a big building in a labyrinth. It's like got a crazy, creepy basement and lots of stairs in the back. It was like a whole maze.
Yeah, it's got like some old weird cargo elevator. So we go upstairs and of course they've got these giant silk screens where they're making the Mothman shirts that they sell all year long. We meet this guy and we're like, hey, I'm Richard Hatem. This is Susan Lambert. We just want to sneak in and take a quick look at the museum. And then kind of be on our way. We won't take up any more of your time. And he's like, well, have you seen the mini golf? We're like, what? He's like, come over here. He takes us, it's on the second floor. he starts flipping switches. He basically turns on the indoor mini golf place, which is all one of those sort of black light, kind of fluorescent, weird colors and sounds and shrieking and gunfire and monsters
and mini golf, like a putt-putt. And it was so fun. It was so exciting. It was so great.
We didn't play mini golf. We just walked through the, 4 or 5 rooms that were, different scenarios.
It was so much more than I thought it was going to be. It was like everything that whole weekend.
Everything on this entire trip turned out to be more than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And so that was a dream for me. I know the museum was more for Rich, but the blacklight mini golf was really, really awesome. And I loved it very much. And I got scared because there's a jump scare in the middle of it.
If you are there, if you have a chance to go through Point Pleasant, go to the museum, but definitely go to the mini golf and take pictures of yourself and send them to us at the podcast. I will post those pictures. It is so cool. Anyway, we made our way down to the museum, and like everything else, museum 10 times more and better than I expected it to be. Like, it's a legit museum of the original sightings and the original events, and then also the various pop culture stuff like the movie that's happened in its wake, designed beautifully, displayed beautifully, like Jeff really knew what he was doing. This is like, you could have spent 2 hours in this place and really learned things about Point Pleasant.
I've learned things about Point Pleasant, but also John Keel. There's a lot of John Keel's papers and books. There's letters from him to President Kennedy, letters from President Kennedy to him. It's pretty amazing. And a lot of stuff from the movie that was really neat and thoughtful.
Yeah. And they had, what blew me away, and I'm so glad they have this, but they have these, displays of the notebook paper where the eyewitnesses wrote out what they saw within 24 hours of when they saw it.
The police reports. Yeah.
Yeah. There's the police reports, but again, the witness, the handwritten, like, write down what you actually saw, which is so informative for the whole idea of witnessing something supernatural, paranormal, and the notion that, it's a good idea if you emotionally have the wherewithal to do it, write down what you saw. These are pieces of notebook paper from 60 years ago that were created within hours of people seeing the Mothman, because it's very easy now to go, oh, well, that's, stories get blown out of proportion and somebody was misidentified something. Then everybody wanted in on the game and decades have gone by and everyone's suddenly remembering what they saw. And the original was probably an owl. And then you realize, oh, wait, no, here's what they saw. And here's what they saw like last night or 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
It is extremely well documented. And to be perfectly honest, I actually have more confidence that something happened in Point Pleasant, something supernatural, than I ever have in my life. Because when I read the original book, my only interest was, how can I sort of take the general mood and atmosphere of what's going on there and write a movie that, let me take this snowstorm and write about every snowstorm and explore those feelings. But now it's like, oh, wait a second. You dial it back, people did see something. And then at the festival, someone comes up to our booth and says, hey, have you talked to those 2 ladies like 10 feet away from you across the aisle? I'm like, no, who are they? So 2 older women. Well, one of them is Linda Sigmund, and Linda Sigmund is one of the original witnesses. And suddenly I'm like, oh my God, there are actually still people here who were here 60 years ago and were teenagers at the time and saw something. There were witnesses, and they're 10 feet from me. And it's been 30 years. And I'm like, okay, I walk across I introduced myself. She is so nice, so excited, and she's written a small volume, but it's called Beyond the Pale Moonlight, a UFO Mothman Encounter. It's basically a short book length recording of what she experienced in April of 1967.
Show the front. I know not everyone will see this. Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's these, I mean, look at these crazy illustrations of what they saw and what she saw that night, and then what she remembered later under hypnotic regression. It's really interesting to look someone in the eye and have them, talk about it in a way that feels like, oh yeah, they're kind of talking about their kid's 10th birthday. I mean, it's not, it doesn't sound like, well, they're just like, well, I was going, a friend of mine wanted to meet up on the hill. And so we went up there, and then this thing happened, and this light came out of the woods, and then it was over our heads. Then we looked up, and it wasn't just a light, it was a craft. And then next to it, there was this thing, and it's very matter of fact. Anyway, this book is amazing, Beyond the Pale Moonlight, and it's by Linda Sigmund. What an honor to meet her. And she was just, there were painted rocks that she was selling and little arts and crafts items. And again, they were just enjoying their weekend and meeting people and sharing their story. The woman next to her was named Faye. I didn't get to talk to Faye as much, but I did get a little knitted alien creature that she was making.
I know, it's so cute. We brought back the rocks and the knitted creature, even though our luggage was overweight when we went back.
Yes, our luggage
I was like, we can't
overweight.
get rid of the rocks.
Our luggage and I were both overweight by the time this ended. But the problem, okay, so Sunday morning being at the festival was also, it's the last day, and man, thank God I didn't go crazy, because I could have spent every dime we made and more buying t-shirts and mugs and paintings and plushies,
hats and
books,
bags and books.
Everything.
There was so much there, and food. And I did go down and get the strawberry crumble cake.
I know. Thank God. It
was so good. It was, and then we tried the noodles that everybody was excited about, and they were good. But the strawberry
noodles, yeah.
The strawberry crumble cake was.
Well, okay, so just down from Brenna Butler was Joey Medea and his wife Tanya. Joey's written a ton of books, sort of, some of them are more nonfiction, but some of them are sort of fun fiction based on the Mothman story from Point Pleasant. His wife Tanya is an intuitive, I think is how she refers to herself. Not a full-blown psychic, I don't think, but she wrote a book called Living the Intuitive Life, and we bought a copy and they signed it. And I got Joey's book. Oh, hang on one second. It's right over here.
And Joey ran over and was like, and I do theater stuff too. So we got to talk about theater stuff.
Yeah. Oh, his book, Mothman, well, one of his many books, Mothman Was Here, which is part 3 of the Stanton Chronicles. So he's written a lot of theater and fiction. And Joey is also part of the Facebook group for the podcast. So Joey and I were kind of, messaging back and forth, and then we got to meet in person. So nice. He and his wife, Tanya, so great. And so we got to hang out with them. They bought some of my stuff. I bought some of their stuff. And then right next to them was another member of the Facebook group. And I'm going to struggle with your last name, Bill, but I'm going to try it. It's Bill Kusolos. But also his wife, Jacqueline. They were both there. Again, both writers. And Bill wrote a book called Bridging the Tragedy, Silver Linings in the Mysterious Ohio River Valley. And basically he's a psychologist who was studying the emotional aftermath of tragedies and tragedies with supernatural overtones, which is something I've never heard of. But there's a particular, it's all PTSD, and people who claim to have alien abductions show all the signs of PTSD. And And it was fascinating to me that it's its own category, that people who have experienced a tragedy that also has these sort of unexplainable elements surrounding it, their grief is in a weird way sort of more accentuated because there's this element that society may not endorse. So you can talk about the bad thing that happened, the collapse of the Ohio, the collapse of the Silver Bridge, but you can't really say, but in and around that, I had several paranormal experiences, psychic experiences, because then people don't want to hear it and they dismiss you. And then there's an element of shame and, sort of, there's a stigma on you, and it can be even harder to talk about. And it's the first time I'd ever heard anyone approach psychology in this way. I was fascinated.
It makes so much sense though, because even if it's not that stigma, tragic events and tragedy is so hard to deal with to begin with. Like, I think it has an element of unreality when things are happening to start, when you get bad news or something terrible happens to you, or your car wreck, or, losing a child, or being in an area of violence. And then, so it's already a little bit hard for your body and mind to work through. That's why you have PTSD. And so if you add a paranormal or supernatural element on top of that, I imagine it's even that much harder, right? So it's, I found that fascinating too. So.
I mean, and Bill was so kind to me, and so, he said, I saw the movie and it changed my life. It changed the course of my life when I saw it, because that's what your movie is about. It's about someone going through grief and then trying to deal with that grief through investigating or trying to figure out the mystery of these supernatural events. And they become conflated and they become interlocked. And in the movie, that's exactly what's happening. And it's only later when Laura Linney's character, Connie, sort of comes in and says, you've got to pull out of this spiral. Like in a way you might say to someone who is a widower, but you're beginning a relationship with that person. And it's like, it'll never not be sad and it'll never not be inexplicable. But while you're struggling with it, turn toward other human beings in a current context and in a relationship that can provide a safer environment for you to experience these feelings. Don't sit at home alone waiting for Indrid Cold to call you, and don't spiral further into the weirdness. Try to come up for air now and be with people. And that's basically what it's like. Bill has now made a lifelong study of this idea.
It's so interesting. And it reminds me, we're reading all these, I'm reading all these articles now about people losing themselves and their family members to AI chatbots.
Oh my God.
And it's that rabbit hole where people are suffering, and then they head down something that they think is going to solve it.
Yeah.
But it ends up turning them away from real people and real emotion, and because it seems safer, and it ends up being not safer.
No, everyone, here's my public service announcement. AI is a tool. Use it at arm's distance and then set it down and get on with your life. Okay. And do that with everything. Do that with social media. Do it with TV. Do it with the internet. Do it with everything. Use it. It's a tool. Know when you're using it. Have an off time, and then turn it off and go re-engage in real life. I'm now.
It's a word processor. It's a really good word processor.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, okay.
So
we got off. So we got to get.
We meet all these people. We get all the books. Susan's like, "Don't spend all your money." I'm like, "Okay, we got to get at it." So she grabbed my hand.
I said, "Don't spend all your money," and then I ran out and bought 2 T-shirts and the strawberry thing. And
well, it's okay, but that's okay. That's all right. I'd say we got out pretty clean.
We did good.
We load the stuff. You reorganize all the stuff by size, all the shirts. We get everything packed away. We've maybe emptied out a box. We throw it all back into the rental car because now we're on the way to Washington, D.C.
6 hours, baby.
That's right. 6 hours to Washington, D.C. Okay, so that is the end of part 1 of the Light in the Dark tour wrap-up. We'll be back with part 2 next week, and we'll tell you all the stories of Washington, D.C., meeting up with Scott Philbrook and Tess Feifel, meeting up with more fans. We'll tell you about Brooklyn and Center Reach, Long Island, the haunted house, the whole thing. It gets pretty crazy. All right, so have a great week, and we will see you again soon.